Blame it on the blame it on the alcohol. A song by Jamie Foxx and T-Pain. Blame it on the alcohol. Yeah, that's what's happening now. I'm sure you have heard that during this week there's been lots and lots of talks about thinking of closing down the liquor stores again. Yeah, what has alcohol done this time? Bheki Cele says that alcohol is making everybody act up, start stepping each other, start shooting each other, start driving recklessly, and they are filling up the hospital wards, right? Let's talk about the curves. The curves. Flattening up the curve. Remember, what's the purpose of the shutdown when we started? The purpose of the shutdown was obviously to close and seal our borders, make sure that everybody is in their houses, so that the number of people who have been infected doesn't go up. And when that happens, it gives us an opportunity to be able to do what? To have more hospital beds, to build up filled hospitals, to trace and track folks who contacted other folks who are infected, so that we can stamp out the disease. Well, not exactly, obviously, but to make sure that we keep the number of infected people way down. That was the purpose of this lockdown, right? So what has happened? How many hospital beds have been set up? How many field hospitals have been set up? Because now the Minister of Police has just said that he was given numbers, 40, 50 something, rushing to the emergency. And as a result, then that is then giving a whole lot of pressure to the hospitals for them to be able to concentrate on treating folks who are infected with COVID. You know, and it's not like a number of maybe 5,000 or 10,000 people. No, it's just that little number, right? And sure enough, Professor Abdool Karim of the NCCC, our National Corona Command Council, has also said that we're going to relook into the issue of opening the bottle store, opening alcohol being sold, if the emergency wards and the ICUs are going to be flooded with a lot of people who are having alcohol related injuries, right? That's not only him, the doctor, it's also the Gauteng province. The Premier also spoke about re-looking into the issue of closing the selling of alcohol, right? Yep, so that's the issue right now. So now, let's look at the actual stats. This is an article from the month of March. Okay? It's from My Broadband. It was on the 22nd of March. Headline: Massive shortage of hospital beds if coronavirus keeps spreading in South Africa. Right? The article says that according to the publication, experts said that South Africa would need to reduce the infection rate to only 10% of citizens if it was to stand a chance in fighting the virus. This would mean that around 5.7 million South Africans get infected. Okay? This is far less than the 60 to 70% figure which Health Minister William Kizza said the country could be headed for. Alright. So now we already have over 1,087,887 tests which are conducted, with about over 65,000 positive cases identified. So maybe we're going to have to, the numbers are not good, so maybe we're going to have to blame it on the alcohol, right? How many beds were needed in order to cope with this, right? The report continues, right? Reports submitted that this figure may be lower with South Africa's younger population, but if the rate of infection were to be similar, 855,000 beds would be required in the next 6 months. That will be this month of June now. Per month, that would come down to 142,500 beds, 47,500 of which would have to be dedicated to critical patients. So, how many beds have we been setting up now in order to combat this? Right? Another study from the Institute of Race Relations showed there were only 116,400 beds across the country as of 2014, while research from the University of Cape Town in 2017 estimated about 102,000 beds in 544 hospitals. The effects could be even worse if the virus spread in concentrated in densely populated area. So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done in order to cap the spread. You can't just blame alcohol for all this thing and just paint a big brush and saying alcohol is responsible for this. The whole month of this shutdown, if I may, the whole idea of the shutdown was to slow down the infection rate immensely in order to give us time as the Republic to get the beds being set up, get the PPE being acquired, get the ventilators. I just thought of the minister in the presidency there. That's why I hesitated for a second to say ventilators, because of what Jackson Tembu, aka Don't Buy City Press, Don't Buy, had said about the ventilators, you know. So last time I checked, we're not over 5,000 ventilators, and ventilators obviously which are then used on our critical patients. So what we have to do now, we have to be smart. We have to be smart as a republic in order to deal with COVID. It cannot be talks and talks about alcohol all the time, you know. There's no rationale about this. And one thing about alcohol, which I find it very funny, the government, or the government people, or the government servants, as they always like to call themselves, authorities, people like Bheki Cele, he always talks about how bad alcohol is, how he wishes, I just wish that I had those powers, you know, so that I can make decisions to stop alcohol in order to be a superhero for the day, for the people of South Africa to be safe. I just want to keep you safe. You know what I mean? So people like me or other folks at home who buy their alcohol, right? You buy your whiskey, your vodka, your gin, and your partner buys, maybe you buy a nice bottle of wine, right? It's Sunday, family TV, where I'm just gonna pour a glass of wine for my government, and then I pour myself a big jug of beer, and we just chill up in bed and watch TV. And you know what we're doing at that time? Nah, there's no domestic violence on our part, okay? We're chilling, we're watching TV, we're having fun, we're bonding. And I would like to argue that with that alcohol, we're having the opposite of that violence that you, Minister Bheki Cele, is talking about. In our household, alcohol is not to blame, okay? Oh no. Alcohol is just one of those little things that we have, we use, you know? And some people out there, I'm quite sure that they will then have their candle lights ready, the super romantic ones, the candle lights ready, their glass of wine, they're with their spouses, they're just chilling and they're having a good time. So this notion that each and every household, when there's going to be alcohol, there will be like fights, it's a crazy notion that has to be dismissed, you know. So, but that's the purpose of the government. The government has to put out hotlines to say, listen man, if you're having problems in the family, call us so we can be able to protect you. You know what I mean? So, but there are just those other families who are not going through what other families are going through, unfortunately. So I think as a society, we really have to look deep into the dynamics that are happening in there. So we have to look at the roots of all these problems, the roots of the crimes that's skyrocketing in the country, the roots of the violence against women that's happening, and deal with it. We have to look at the societal issue and really reflect and see what is really happening that's making things to get worse and worse, and deal with it. So we're not supposed to just only look at these symptomatic problems that occurs before bad things happens. We have to really look deep into what's happening and deal with it, you know. So that's just my take on this issue of alcohol. And as you can see, what's been happening since we are a democratic country, the government has been taking a whole lot of losses, man. The tobacco industry is taking the government to court, and it's quite likely that they're going to lose. The health and beauty industry is also taking the government to court, and they just want to know the rationale as to why the barbershop are not being open, you know. Whether I saw a lady there who represents the health and beauty industry, also said that they've been engaging with government. That's a couple of weeks ago. And I can understand that if you go to a barbershop and speak to a barber and just say, listen man, how do you think it would be possible for you to be able to practice social distancing in order to shave folks who are coming to your barbershop? What do? Would you then close the door shut and make sure that people who are coming to shave, or perhaps stay in their car, and then you have one individual at a time with your mask on that you're going to be shaving, and then when that person comes out, you buzz the second guy who's going to come in and shave? I mean, those are the things that could be possible. because initially the government said that they're closing business in order to mitigate the COVID-19, but then they opened up the churches, where then now people are saying, wow, but church is not business. Why is church being opened? I'm not saying that I'm against churches being opened. I think the point that I'm trying to say is that why would you then close other businesses of which you're saying that you're closing these businesses because you think that they cannot be able to practice social distancing, and then you open other institutions which are not businesses? Okay? So, but I guess now we are on level 3 and we're steadily moving to level 2, and hopefully we'll get back into business. Hopefully other companies will survive and be able to hire people who are going to be able to feed their families, because it's tough out there. They're like, every person that I speak to now that I know, they will tell me about getting 50% pay of their salaries, then they're waiting for the UIF, which hasn't come through. Almost everybody that I know. So it is bad out there. So we just hope that business will just start to slowly and surely, get on track, and we start rebuilding. And I hope that this is going to be a lesson which the government learns about not being able to be the decider into the reason why you then have to pick winners and losers in terms of which companies are to do business and which other companies are not supposed to do business. Like, for instance, they stopped the e-commerce companies from operating, of which the e-commerce companies were obviously going to be safe because you get your package at the door, you pick up the package of the stuff that you've bought. The government's, one of the other reasons that the government gave was that, no, we're not going to open business for the e-commerce industries because it's not going to be fair to the other industries which are producing the same products, but they don't have e-commerce means to sell those businesses. So as a result, we're stopping everything because we don't want to put other companies ahead of other companies. Crazy what we've been seeing, such as those decisions of where the government has to tell you that when you go into the stores now to buy winter clothes, you cannot buy slippers that are going to have your toes peeking out there. You have to buy something warm like boots. I mean, what if you're going to sit in front of the heater and you have to put on your flip-flops, you have to put on your slippers, you know what I mean? Or if you're cuddling up in bed, or you're just watching TV in bed, I mean, you're not going to be in bed wearing your boots. Do they mean that you then have to go, hop off the bed, get into the boots, tie them, lace up, go get a cup of coffee, take your boots off, and get to bed? See what I'm talking about when I say that the government, it's not there to pick winners and losers in terms of business. The government is just to say, listen, this is how far we are in terms of the number of beds that we have assembled and filled hospitals. And sure, when people are drinking alcohol, there are going to be those people who are going to be drunk and stepping each other and going to the hospital. And I'm quite sure that the Minister of Police and Stats SA has a number of such incidents of people stepping each other, hurting each other, bleeding, and going to the hospital. They know that each and every province, our 9 provinces, this is the amount of number per average of people who are going to be admitted. So the government's job is to protect the citizens. Get those stats of the people that you know are going to be coming to the hospital. You would then have prepared a space for them to take care of them. And then, on the other hand, you would have prepared yourself for the number and wave of the people who are going to be coming through who would be having COVID-19. Okay? We have been working on flattening the curve. And by the way, I've also learned about the clues and stuff in terms of exercising and trimming up curves, you know. That's just one of my lame jokes as I'm signing out. Thank you for watching the Mamuji Show, and I'm out.